She pushed the paper toward me like it was a casual lunch receipt. "Accept the 78% salary reduction, or I'll find someone who will," she said, loud enough for the entire boardroom to hear. Her tone was dry, smug, her eyes scanning the room for reactions, not mine. For them. For the staff. For the power play. And they all laughed. God, they laughed. That was the moment I stopped loving her. My wife, Vanessa, wasn't just my partner at home. She was head of HR at the same firm I'd helped build from the ground up. We used to joke that we were a power couple. But somewhere along the way, I became just another pawn in her little office kingdom. The way she dropped that ultimatum, in front of everyone, no warning, no mercy, it wasn't professional, it was personal. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her, really looked, her perfect smile, her rehearsed composure, the way she adjusted her gold necklace like she was posing for an invisible camera. That wasn't my wife. That was someone playing a role. "I need 44 hours, I said calmly, not even blinking. She raised an eyebrow. 44. You gave me a choice. I'm taking it. She smirked, already turning to shake hands with our CFO like the matter was closed. I walked out of that room without looking back, my spine straight, my jaw tight. I could hear whispers trailing behind me, echoing off the marble floors. That night, I didn't go home. I drove until the city lights blurred. Until her perfume wasn't in my lungs. Until I could breathe. I parked in front of the first bar that looked quiet and dim, walked in, sat down, and ordered a whiskey neat. I stared at the glass, not the TV behind the bartender, not the couples making out in the corners, not the missed calls piling up on my phone. Then I made one call. Just one. To Ryan McClain, CEO of our biggest competitor, Novatech Dynamics. "You still waiting on me?" I asked. He didn't even hesitate. "I've been waiting for you to get pissed off enough." By midnight, I had an offer letter in my inbox, 3 times the salary, complete creative freedom, and a seat at the table. I forwarded it to my personal email. Then I poured another drink. I got home at 2:36 a.m. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Her car was there. Her shoes were lined up neatly in the hall. But she wasn't in our bed. I heard laughter downstairs. Not TV laughter. Real, breathy, tipsy laughter. Hers. I moved silently. Past the stairs. Toward the dim light under the kitchen door. I pushed it open. And there she was. Vanessa. In my hoodie. On the kitchen counter. Laughing into the chest of some guy I'd never seen before. He was younger. Fitter. Wearing my goddamn cologne. She saw me and didn't even flinch. "Hey babe," she said, sliding off the counter like she was getting up to fetch me a drink. "Didn't expect you back so early." No guilt. No panic. Just audacity. The guy stood frozen, like a deer on black ice. I didn't even look at him. My eyes were on her. Only her. "I thought we were cutting back," I said, my voice steady. "Didn't realize the budget included house guests." She smirked. "Oh please. Don't get all dramatic. We've both been bored for months." I just had the guts to admit it. I stared at her. At the woman I used to build dreams with. And all I could think was, this wasn't the betrayal, it was the reveal. The mask was off. This was who she'd been becoming, slowly, piece by piece. "I accepted a new offer tonight," I said. "Oh," she replied, leaning against the fridge, arms crossed, pretending to care. "Please tell me it pays more than your ego." I smiled for the first time that night. "It pays enough to buy this house back when the bank takes it from you." Her smirk faded. Just a little. Just enough. This was only the beginning. And I hadn't even started yet. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked to the guy beside her, still frozen like a statue, then back to me. "You're bluffing," she said, but her voice dipped, her confidence slipping under the weight of my calm. "I don't bluff," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket and opening the offer letter. I turned the screen toward her. "I start in 2 weeks." Her face didn't twitch, but I saw her throat tighten as she swallowed. "Novatech," she said, trying to sound unimpressed. "Really? You're crawling to them now?" "They didn't make me crawl," I said. They opened the door and pulled up a chair. She let out a laugh, sharp and bitter. "Good. Go play king over there. Maybe someone will finally kiss your A** like you've always wanted." I stared at her, and for a second, it was like I was seeing her for the first time. The way she leaned on cruelty like it was charm. The way she used people like ladders, then kicked them down the moment they reached her level. "Don't worry," I said. "I'll be out by the morning." She blinked. "Wait, what? You wanted to humiliate me at work. You did. You wanted to rub some new toy in my face." Congrats, you nailed it. But you don't get to enjoy the fallout. I'm not giving you that. She rolled her eyes and turned to the guy, who had finally found the courage to speak. Maybe we should go. Ness, he muttered, clearly regretting ever stepping foot in our home. She ignored him. What are you even planning? You think leaving first makes you the hero? I leaned in slightly. No. I think leaving first means I don't have to watch you rot. Then I turned and walked upstairs, closed the bedroom door behind me, and packed everything that mattered into one duffel bag: my laptop, my passport, my grandmother's watch, the framed photo of my parents on their wedding day. She didn't follow. Not once. Not even to argue. The next morning, I was gone by 6 a.m. I didn't leave a note. I didn't slam the door. I just left the keys on the counter and walked out. By the time I reached the office, word had already spread. Vanessa's voice cracked when she tried to spin the story, but no one was buying it. HR queen or not, they all knew what she did. I could see it in their eyes. Some pitied me, others respected me. A few just looked scared, probably wondering how long until she turned on them too. I met with the CEO that afternoon to finalize the terms of my departure. He was polite, professional, but clearly uncomfortable. I didn't know she was going to pull that, he said. Of course you didn't, I replied. That's how she operates. She's valuable, he added. Until she turns the blade on you, I said, standing up and offering my hand. Good luck. Outside the office building, I paused on the steps and looked up one last time. My reflection stared back from the glass, older, harder, but clear. I felt like a man who had just escaped a burning building. Everything behind me smoldered, but everything ahead was wide open. That night, I checked into a hotel with a corner view of the city. I ordered a steak. I drank 2 glasses of bourbon. I opened my laptop and began drafting my transition strategy for Novatech. I was done crying, done second-guessing, done pretending that betrayal was my fault. I'd been sleeping next to a stranger for years, and I just hadn't noticed. Now, I wasn't sleeping. I was waking up. 2 days after I left, she called. Not to apologize, Vanessa didn't do apologies. She called to ask if I'd taken the fireproof folder from the safe. I let the silence hang for a second before answering. I did. A sharp inhale. That wasn't yours. Neither was half the money you blew redecorating your office. But here we are. She hissed through her teeth. You have no idea what you're doing. I do, actually. I'm protecting what's mine. You should try it sometime, instead of playing HR dominatrix to every man who walks into your department. That hit. She hung up. A week passed. Then I got an email from an old friend inside the company, David Chin, our lead developer. Subject line, she's spiraling. He'd attached screenshots, chat logs, internal memos. She was throwing people under the bus, blaming junior staff for budget issues, firing a guy for speaking up in a meeting. Classic Vanessa. Trying to claw back control with bloodied fingernails. Meanwhile, I was sitting in a glass-walled conference room at Novatech, leading my first strategy session with people who actually listened, who didn't sneer or snicker when I spoke, who didn't share a bed with my replacement. And then, out of nowhere, I got served. A lawsuit. From her. Breach of contract, misappropriation of intellectual property, unauthorized use of company assets. I laughed. Actually laughed. Sitting in my new office, reading that garbage, I couldn't help it. I called my lawyer. He chuckled too. This is weak, he said. She's throwing darts in the dark. But we'll respond, I said. Officially. Professionally. And then we bury her. 3 days later, her lawyer reached out for a settlement. I declined. She wanted war? She'd get it. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about principle. She'd humiliated me, betrayed me, tried to destroy what I'd built. Now she wanted to paint herself as the victim? No, not this time. And yet, beneath all the chaos, something unexpected was happening. I was healing. I started sleeping through the night. I stopped checking her socials. I even started jogging again, something I hadn't done since we got married. Back when life felt simple and she used to cheer me on from the sidewalk with a coffee in hand and those big fake sunglasses. She used to pretend she cared. I used to pretend I believed her. Now I didn't pretend anymore. One morning, while passing a corner cafe, I saw her. Sitting alone. No makeup, hair tied back, hunched over her phone like it held the last shred of her reputation. She didn't see me. I stood there for a few seconds, wondering if I should go inside. Confront her. Say something. Anything. But I didn't. She didn't deserve my words. She deserved my absence. I walked away. And in that moment, I realized something. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's nothing. A month passed. The lawsuit evaporated after her own lawyer backed out, citing irreconcilable directions from the client. Translation? She was spiraling out of control and dragging everyone down with her. Word around the industry traveled fast. HR head gets caught manufacturing false allegations, sabotaging internal protocols, attempting to blacklist her ex-husband out of spite. Yeah, people noticed. The same people who used to chase her around at networking events now pretended not to see her when she walked into her room. And I thrived. Novatech didn't just give me a desk and a title, they gave me space. Creative space. Power without ego. Authority without politics. I could finally breathe. Build. Lead. Everything I'd thought I was doing at my last company but wasn't. But the nights were still quiet. Too quiet sometimes. It's one thing to win. It's another to win alone. Then, one night, 3:08 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. 2 minutes later, it buzzed again. Same number. I picked up. A deep breath. Then her voice. Soft. Shaky. Do you ever think we went too far? I said nothing. She continued, like, maybe we both said and did things we shouldn't have. You mean like sleeping with another man in our kitchen? I said coldly. Silence. Then, I didn't mean for it to happen like that. No one ever does. I was lonely. Okay. She snapped, the venom returning. You were always working, always chasing something. You wanted attention. You got it. She fell quiet again. Then, barely a whisper, I lost everything. For a second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered the boardroom. The laughter. The smell of that guy's cologne in my kitchen. I said. And I won't. I don't want money, she said. I don't want anything. I just wanted to hear your voice again. You just did, I replied, and hung up. The next day, I received a small envelope at my office. No return address. Inside was the photo our wedding day. The original. Not a copy. Just the photo. I stared at it. My hand holding hers, both of us smiling like idiots, not knowing what was coming. I put it in the bottom drawer of my desk. Not because I missed her. Because I needed the reminder. The reminder that love without respect isn't love. That loyalty should never be begged for. And that no matter how much time you've spent building something, if the foundation is rotten, it's better to watch it collapse than live inside it. The funny thing is, people always say betrayal changes you. It doesn't. It reveals you. And in that wreckage, you get to decide who the hell you really are. About 2 weeks after the envelope, I got an invitation to the company's annual winter gala. The one I used to help organize. The one Vanessa always used as her personal runway. I had no intention of going until I got a text from David again. You should show up, he wrote. She's unraveling. I didn't answer him right away, but the idea stayed with me all day. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, fixing the collar on a navy suit I hadn't worn since our last anniversary dinner. Funny how many things had changed since then, except the way it still fit like a second skin. I walked in alone. Heads turned. I wasn't the man who got humiliated anymore. I wasn't the guy everyone whispered about behind closed doors. I was something different now, something they hadn't expected. She saw me as soon as I stepped through the door. Vanessa froze mid-sentence, glass in hand, surrounded by a small circle of new hires trying to stay on her good side. She smiled, but it was brittle. Her eyes scanned my outfit, my posture, probably wondering how I didn't look broken. I made my way to the bar. Ordered a bourbon. Neat. She waited maybe 10 minutes before coming over. I see you got the invite. I did, I said without turning. I almost ignored it. But you didn't. Nope. She stood beside me for a second, just breathing. She was wearing a new dress, expensive, tailored, but nothing about her presence felt powerful anymore. Just hollow. They're not listening to me like they used to, she said. I was flicking toward the execs across the room. They talk over me. Smile politely. Then do the opposite. Guess they see you now. That's not fair, she whispered. No, I said, finally turning to face her. It's accurate. She blinked, trying to find the upper hand in a room where she'd already lost it. You came to rub it in? No, I said. I came to remind myself. Of what? Why I left. She flinched like I'd slapped her, but she didn't break. You know, I used to admire you, she said suddenly. You had this fire. I guess that's why I tried to kill it. I almost laughed. That's the most honest thing you've said in 5 years. She looked down, eyes glassy now. But I didn't offer sympathy. I didn't offer anything. I should have left earlier, I added. Then why didn't you? Because I believed in someone who never existed. That was my mistake. She nodded slowly. And now I believe in me. I left before dessert. Walked out past the valets and through the December air like I was shedding her from my skin, one frozen breath at a time. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was clean. And that was better than any revenge. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls and a few texts from mutual acquaintances. Apparently, Vanessa had left the gala early. Drunk. Alone. Rumor was she tried to corner the CFO in the parking garage, pitched some half-baked restructuring plan she claimed would fix morale. He shut her down cold. She screamed. Someone recorded it. By sunrise, the clip was quietly circulating in industry group chats. She didn't call me again. Instead, I got a message from her sister, Erica. We'd always gotten along, even after the divorce storm started. Erica kept it short. I don't know what she expected. She built the fire, and now she's choking on the smoke. Just wanted you to know. I always thought you deserved better. I stared at those words longer than I should have. It's wild how people see you differently once you're no longer orbiting someone toxic. Suddenly, you're not the quiet one or the fool who stayed. You're the one who survived it and walked away with your dignity still intact. A few weeks passed. Then something unexpected happened. I was at a panel event in Chicago, speaking about ethical leadership and creative freedom in fast-growing companies. Afterward, this woman approached me, mid-30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense vibe. She introduced herself as Jordan, CEO of a startup I'd been loosely following for months. We got coffee, talked business, then life, then more. She didn't ask about Vanessa, but I found myself telling her anyway. Not the whole saga, just enough. She didn't flinch, didn't judge, just said, sometimes poison looks like perfume. That line stayed with me, maybe forever. Vanessa, meanwhile, faded out of my world like background static. I heard she was put on leave. Something about creating a hostile environment. HR irony at its finest. One night, while scrolling through my inbox, I found an old message from her, dated a year before the boardroom stunt. It was short. Dinner's cold. Where are you? At the time, I was finalizing a huge deal. I remember seeing the message, ignoring it, thinking I'd heat up the plate later. I never did. It hit me then. I didn't lose Vanessa when she brought that man into our home. I've been losing her, silently for years. We just finally gave up pretending at the same time. And that was the truth I'd been running from. Not the betrayal, not the spectacle, but the slow, silent rot between two people who stopped being us. Now I don't chase ghosts. Now I chase what's real. Spring came fast that year. It felt like one day I was pulling up my coat collar to block the wind, and the next, I was walking into meetings with my sleeves rolled, coffee in one hand, new ideas in the other. The last conversation I had about Vanessa came from the most unexpected place, her mother. I was walking through a Sunday market, picking up vegetables I wouldn't cook and fruit I'd probably forget in the fridge. That's when I saw her. Carolyn. Same posture, same pearl earrings. Only her eyes looked older. She stepped in front of me before I could duck away. I'm not here to cause drama, she said. I wanted to tell you something. I stayed quiet. She's not okay, Carolyn continued. But you probably already knew that. I did, I said. For a long time. She sighed. We all failed her. In different ways. Maybe, I said, but she didn't have to drag me down with her. Carolyn nodded slowly. I see that now. I didn't before, but I do now. There was a silence between us, thick, honest. She never stopped talking about you, she added. Even when it was bad. Especially when it was bad. That's not love, I said. That's obsession. There's a difference. She didn't argue. She just said, take care of yourself, and walked away. And that was it. The last thread tying me to Vanessa cut clean, right in the middle of an open-air market under a blue sky. I met Jordan again later that week. We had dinner at a place she picked, small, hidden, the kind of place with no menus and candlelight that made everything feel like a secret. She asked me how I was feeling these days. I told her the truth. Like I finally stepped out of someone else's story and started writing my own. She smiled. That's a good start. We didn't talk about exes. We didn't talk about damage. We talked about possibility, about where to go next. And I realized I wasn't bitter. I wasn't broken. I was free. Not the kind of freedom you scream about. The kind you whisper to yourself when no one's watching. The kind that grows roots inside your bones and makes you stand taller. I had been betrayed, yes, But I had not been defeated. Summer came with heat waves and clarity. I'd moved into a new place, nothing flashy, just a clean space with tall windows and no memories buried in the walls. The first night I slept there, I left the blinds open. Let the city lights spill in. No more dark corners. No more lies hiding behind routine. Work was good. Better than good. My ideas were being implemented across 3 departments. My team respected me, trusted me, and I started mentoring a few younger guys, helping them avoid the same traps I'd fallen into. One afternoon, I was in a meeting when a junior analyst, Tim, bright kid, asked me, "How do you keep work from eating your personal life?" I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't. Not before. I used to think providing was enough. That as long as I was building something, it counted. But I'd been building on sand, with someone who was standing by with a match and a smile. So I said this: balance isn't about time. It's about presence. If you're with someone who makes you feel like you always owe more, leave. That debt never clears. He nodded, wrote it down. I watched him and thought, maybe that's what this was for. Maybe the whole storm I went through wasn't to break me, but to give someone else a compass. I hadn't spoken to Vanessa since the market. Occasionally, I'd hear her name in some business gossip thread. Rumors. Nothing solid. I didn't care. What mattered was what I knew. I knew who I was now. I knew what I'd survived. And most of all, I knew I'd never settle for less than respect again. Not from a partner. Not from a boss. Not from anyone. One night, months after everything, I got a letter. Handwritten. No name. No return address. The handwriting was hers. I knew it instantly. I didn't open it right away. I sat with it. Thought about the man I used to be, the one who would have torn it open and searched every line for hope or closure. But I wasn't him anymore. I tossed it in the drawer, unopened. Not out of hate. Out of peace. Because I didn't need her words to finish my story. She was a chapter. I was the book.